lads make themselves some
I
business.
know. It's 2 days a fortnight off, Paul. The Friday and the Monday, same as your dad. And do you know Andrea's got about 30 people he does windies for, and he says he can clear about £180.
Oh, definitely.
No,
Your dad would have been in a grave, Paul.
your dad would have been dead long
Would
ago.
have been going visiting his grave.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, Paul. I didn't know what to do with your dad myself. And he came in here one day and he sat there and he says to me, he says, Ma, how do you know when God speaks to you? And I said to him, well, I kind of feel him in here, kind of guiding me. And he said, I says, how? And I thought, oh, he's hearing voices now. So I says to him, how? He says, well, I heard somebody speaking to me coming along the road now. It was really half cut, even then. He says, I says, what did you say, David? He says, I've got a purpose for your life. But he thought it was a man behind the hedges coming along the road there.
Yeah.
And he thought there were two guys talking out of the hedges, Andrea.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I looked like this. There were nobody there. Well, he was through there drinking that night, that very night. And he was really ill, Paul. And Papa went through to see him. And he says to his dad, Dad, you'll need to phone the doctor. I'm really ill. And all the whisky bottles were all lying empty, all in his bed. And his face, Paul, hadn't ate for a week. And he was just clapped on. He was really near death, Andrea.
Mm-hmm.
So I came and I phoned 119. And out came the fellas, there were two men, two paramedics, came in the ambulance. And they came in with the gurney, you know. I went in and seen him. I heard him asking him, have you had a drink today? Have you had a drink today, sir? And I think David went, aye. Well, they put him in the gurney, took him away there and put him in a van. He was away. So we went there to see him the next day and he was sitting up in the bed in the hospital. And he still was well away with it, Paul. But they gave him pills and all the stuff that they gave him. But he was still drinking even in the hospital, Paul. He says the nurses let you go through the day. He was away up to the licensed grocers, came back with a bottle of whiskey, hid it under pillows, hid it under the curtains in the ward.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just beyond it, Paul. But he came out of the hospital and he went away up the road and he says as soon as I came out I was ready to head for the licensed grocers. But he didn't, Paul. And he says from that day forth I've never had a drink over my mouth. It was gone, Paul. But he said when I left the hospital there was something come on his shoulders. And he says it was like, he says, do you ever feel a bird's wings brushing you? Well, he says, it felt it was going up the road and it was like something left him, Andrea.
This is I felt something leaving me.
So I felt something leaving me.
Demon or something?
It was like a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
A spirit alcohol.
A bit of alcohol spirit.
And it left him like that. And Paul, he has never, now that's about 8 years ago, since your dad's ever had a drink.
Because it would be 2006.
8 years ago.
2006.
And he was telling me that Gary, he's drinking himself today.
Is it?
Aye. He says Gary sits up in the room, the same as he did, sat in the room, drink.
Oh dear.
And he said, when I look in the fridge in the morning, Helen makes his pieces up. He goes into the fridge with pieces. He says, the fridge is full of booze. That Gary's going.
Where's Helen put up with that?
Well, what did you do? It's her son.
It's her son.
I
I
know.
put up with your dad, Paul.
But see,
Papa
when
and
it's
I
your
put
son,
up
you
with
can't. You,
Oh, it's a
you
hard
want to
one.
throw them out, but you
But you
can't.
can't throw them out, Paul.
You want to throw them out
There's
because
some
they're
nights it's
drinking.
terrible.
See, if I was doing that, my mum would well fling me out.
Ah, she would have thrown you out, Paul.
Do you know what I mean?
You'd have been in the street, Paul.
I'd have been in the street. I wouldn't have after her butts. I'd have just been out
And I
there.
couldn't got my bed and we was out in the street, Paul.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm sitting in this big house and my son's out in the street. How could I live with myself, Paul?
I know.
But anyway, God delivered him. And he's never been the same man since, Paul. Never.
No,
Never been the same man
amazing.
since.
It's amazing change, son.
Amazing the things that
Really
changed in David's life.
Anyway,
Amazing.
and
He
at
got his
least,
job back. That was a
yeah,
miracle.
that was another thing.
That was a big
Big
miracle.
thing, he got his job
Because
back.
Melvin went in with him, the same as you're supposed to be going on Sunday. There were 3 men sitting behind a desk. And Melvin went in with this clipboard with nothing on the clipboard, but it looked good. And the two of them sat down, and Melvin says to him before he went in, Melvin says, I'm going in to defend, totally indefensive. There was no way he could even speak up for David, because he'd been drunk on the job and all the rest of it. Anyway, Melvin went in, and because he had been off sick, because he's drinking, then they said that they were, because he was drinking, they were trying to send him somewhere to see a psychiatrist and all the rest of it. And Melvin attacked him, asked them what road they were going down, and whatever road they were going down, Melvin took them down another road. And Melvin says, well, you know, you really should have sent a man, to be seen to have been sending a man for counselling. And they didn't go down that road. They went down this other road. Anyway, when Melvin spoke to this man and said, well, you should have sent that man long ago for the whatever it was. And the guy said, ah, you're right. And then the guy says to the other two men, did we not do that? And the guys went, no, that was it.
Jeez, bro.
When he's, and David says, I came out, I had my job. I could not believe.
That was incredible.
That was
incredible.
incredible. He says that was the biggest miracle. But I thought the biggest miracle
Right, yeah,
was
stopping the drink.
him stopping drinking.
Mhm.
But David says to me, Ma, you don't know what like it was, Ma. He says, I had no job. I was out the door. But that was, he got his job out, Paul.
Amazing.
It was amazing.
No,
Total
he's-
amazing, Paul.
Now he's the shop steward.
Does God no do miracles?
No.
Anyway, where was the place?